Today, we are redrafting the 2025 rookie class. With about one-third of the season in the books, we're starting to get an idea of who these players are in the pros. So tonight, we thought we'd put our dynasty hats back on. And so tonight, we decided we're going to go through a redraft of round one, just kind of update what we think about these players, see where we're at, see who actually deserves to go 101. Maybe that's changed, maybe it hasn't. Stick around for all that and more. And welcome into the Dino Construction Podcast. Just JP and David today. No Justin. We are rocking through a one-round 2025 rookie redraft. Probably talk a little bit about how round two would go, but I don't believe we'll get through a full second round. Just kind of have to feel that out based on time, though. JP, just real quick thoughts on the 2025 class so far. Better than expected, living up to expectations, kind of underperforming. How you feeling, buddy?
I think that there's at least 2 to 3 guys that have risen a lot. One of them is going to be in our top 3 or maybe our top 2 for sure. But otherwise, I think it's just been fine. We've had some guys that have lost a lot of value, some guys that have gained a lot. So I think overall it's shaped up to be a good class, but I wouldn't say great right now.
Especially only 5 weeks in, I'm willing to give some of the guys that might be flops a little bit of a pass. So I think I'm still looking at it through a little bit of like rose-colored glasses, right? Like, yeah, Travis Hunter could still be elite. Yeah, Treveyon Henderson could still be elite. And then we already know some of the guys that are performing well that we're like, okay, these guys maybe are elite. So I think probably looking at it a little bit more hope than it'll end up with. But I'm pretty happy with it overall. Kind of hard to be upset when Egbuka is one of your main targets in the draft class and he's performing the way he has. So without burying too many more leads, let's go ahead and jump on in. JP's going to have odds. I'll have evens. We're just kind of going to talk through it here. So JP, I'm really curious. I think we're down to 2 players here. Take us away with your first.
Debated all day about which player I'm going to take here because I think there's 2 that are the clear top 2 in the class right this moment today. But I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty still. He was the one-on-one coming in. And I just think when you look at the situation this year, the Raiders have been terrible. They have not been a winning team. They have not been a good offense. The run blocking unit has not been great either. And even despite that, he's still been a pretty good fantasy asset. Overall, he is RB12 in total points. And this stat kind of blew my mind. Ashton Jeanty, he's been hit at or behind the line of scrimmage on 45 out of 68 of his runs. That's about 66%, more than half. And the 23 runs where he's not hit at the line of scrimmage, he averages 10 yards per carry. He's also still been a really high quality player at forcing missed tackles. They were not using him a whole lot as a receiver to open up the season. I'm not sure why. There's a lot of talking heads talking about they needed to get him involved in that facet because he's really good there. That's part of why he was one of the best running back prospects that we've seen. And finally, this week, they just started to get him involved in that area. And he really shined there. He actually had a wheel route. That was a really nice catch. And he actually ended up with 7 targets for 5 receptions for 42 yards, which that's what they need to be doing because they're losing like all of their games. So get the ball to one of your best weapons. And I just think with him being RB12 and honestly one of the worst situations in the whole entire league, with the talent that he has, if you get him better quarterback play or better run blocking or just a defense that's really good so that they're in the game more, I don't know, just improve some part of this team in the future. And I think he's definitely still in the cards to be a top 5 guy. We saw Bijan and Gibbs, they weren't immediately these high-end hammers as a rookie. It is their second year when they came out to really be these elite assets. And I kind of think that's in the cards for Jeanty. I mean, he's still 21 years old. He's still the prospect that, we're seeing why he was a top 10 pick. And these top 10 picks, they almost never flop. And he still looks really good out there.
I was really unsure which way you were going to go with this. I don't think either of these 2 are wrong. And I'll just remember here to mention this. It's not really going to impact my pick. But we do a 175 tight end premium. So I think there's a third player that maybe you could consider. But really, it's between the 2 players. You laid out a good case for Jeanty. I don't blame you. I'm going to go ahead and take Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Tampa Bay, formerly of Ohio State. He's just skyrocketing up everybody's list for good reason. We were worried about his role. That was probably our biggest worry when we found out where he was going in Tampa Bay because we knew Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. That offense, they like to throw the ball. So long term, we liked it. But then we got the Godwin injury that he didn't recover on time. Now Evans is out. I think this is one of those once the toothpaste is out of the tube situations, it's not going back in. I just don't see. I mean, I know Evans is going to have a role when he comes back. I know Godwin is getting more and more of a role as he gets healthier. I just don't see how Egbuka is not a main focal point of this offense going forward. He's looked so good to this point. 20.5 PPR points per game. He's had over 100 each of the last 2 weeks. He's had a touchdown in every game but one. In one game, he had 2 touchdowns, so he's averaging a touchdown per game. Oh, but his separation score sucks. Who cares? I've seen so much discussion over it over the last couple of weeks, as I'm sure most people have. My take on it is separation score is useful, but like with all statistics in football, it's also flawed. So you just have to understand when it makes sense, when it doesn't. Watch Emeka Egbuka play and tell me he's not open and he's not a friendly target for his quarterback. You can't, right? So that doesn't worry me at all. I think he's a stud. I think, maybe he's not a tier 1 wide receiver, but maybe he is. And we're going to find out by the end of the season. Like, everything lines up statistically with how Puka started his career. Maybe Puka's was slightly better, but that's the best start to a rookie career we've seen for a wide receiver. So that is a high bar to be falling just barely short of.
Yes, he is definitely the other guy I was considering. Part of the reason I didn't is just because the start that he's had, I think just everything has kind of gone right for him. The defense has not been great. Baker Mayfield's a top 5 quarterback in passing production. Mike Evans got hurt. Chris Godwin wasn't healthy. Like, all these things that could have gone in his favor, they all did. And he's still proving that he deserves to be up here, though. I mean, if you're a top 5, top 10 fantasy asset as a rookie, that's very impressive. And it's going to keep him in this area for a really long time. I just think that Jeanty is the opposite. It's the opposite side of the coin here. I mean, his situation was just so bad, So I just think that in the future, Jeanty's situation will get better. Egbuka's, it could stay really good, but it could also potentially get worse. But no, I can't blame you at all. I almost took him myself. I just really love the talent of Jeanty. But yeah, Egbuka, he's nearing that elite category as well for NFL wide receivers already through 5 games. Now, like you alluded to, our standard format is a 1.75 tight end premium, so I think that that lends my hand right there to Tyler Warren being the pick. He's just been really, really good to start his career here, and it was not a surprise, honestly, because he was one of the most ready-made tight ends. He dominated college football. His statistics were some of the most impressive we've ever seen from a tight end prospect. We just didn't have testing numbers on him. Loveland went a little bit higher, but I think in the back of our minds, we all knew that he was more ready to play week 1 and have a huge role, and he is currently tight end 3. He's 0.7 points behind Trey McBride, who was a guy going with a 1-2 turn in startups for this scoring format. So that's very, very impressive. And this is with Daniel Jones is playing good, but I mean, it's with Daniel Jones still. And I don't know. I just think it's very impressive what he's doing, because I honestly think their receivers, they got a pretty good group too. Pierce has been solid. Josh Downs, Pittman, I think they're all good wide receivers. Even Jonathan Taylor is RB2. He's tearing it up on the ground. But even with all of that, Warren is still producing. So he definitely deserves to be a top 3 dynasty tight end. Wouldn't be surprised if he does surpass Trey McBride at some point in the next couple of years. We'll see. I think McBride's awesome, but I don't think Kyler is. So that kind of hurts him out a little bit too. But yeah, he's the guy I'm going to rock with here if we're to redraft today.
Yeah, I think that was pretty clear for the 103 for me as well, especially in a 175 or higher premium. I think probably 1.5. He's still my 103. It's just so hard to take a tight end that high if there's no premium, though. But I agree with you there at the 175 premium. I'm going to go probably with, you know what? I'm going to go with who we thought was wide receiver 1 in this class. At least most people did. I'm going to go with Tet McMillan. I know Travis Hunter was some people's wide receiver 1s, but he's kind of a unique case, so we'll talk about him later. He's been on a bad offense. We know that. We don't love the situation. We were hoping it was going to improve a bit this year. It really hasn't. I think that's my biggest concern with him. He's still 22, though. He's 6'5", still 210. He's looked the part. 8 or more targets in every game. Just the production's not there because the offense isn't that great. I think he's having a strong enough rookie season with, given his condition of the condition of Bryce Young as quarterback. Unfortunately, that may not change though. So that's my big apprehension with Tet McMillan here. Reason I considered a few other players above him. I just believe in the talent. He is the alpha there without question. Hopefully Jalen Coker comes back, gets healthy, maybe takes a little coverage his direction. But I believe long term Tet will be a pretty darn good receiver. So I still think that I don't think he's done anything wrong. He maybe hasn't done everything right, but he hasn't done anything wrong either.
Yeah, I think he's been very impressive. If you look at his target totals this year, he's had at least 8 targets in every single game. That is very, very consistent. He is also wide receiver 25 in total points, which if you told me that for a rookie, that's pretty good. but also he doesn't have a single touchdown this year yet, which that's very surprising. So wide receiver 25 as a rookie, no touchdowns. That is very impressive. The market really likes him right now as well. He's wide receiver 11 on Keep Trade Cut, and I'm not a big Bryce believer myself. I'm really not. But even if Bryce Young is still there next season, at least there's going to be that rapport that'll start to grow more and more coming into his second year together. They might get another quarterback. We'll see. I think it was really big for Bryce Young that they won that game. Otherwise, they would have been sitting at 1-4. That would have been really tough for his job security. But I think if he wins at least 7 games, he might have a chance of sticking around. We'll see. It's too early to tell. But yeah, good pick there. I'm going to go with the running back, Omarion Hampton. He's been very good for the Chargers. The first couple of games, he was kind of finding his footing. He had 8 points and 3.5, so it was not a good start. But I think it's certain scenarios we just weren't starting him until he truly broke out, which happened in week 3. He had from week 3 through 5, 24.9 points, 27.5, and 13. And what's most impressive to me is through those last 3 games, he's averaging 6 targets a game. That's what's really important, because if you look at the most recent game against Washington, he did 12 carries for 44 yards, no touchdowns. That's a dud in fantasy football. But when you're getting 6 receptions, you're keeping that floor really, really high. And that's really important to me because we know he has a goal line role. He's a receiving back. He's relatively explosive for his size, especially. So I think when you have that full combination, it puts you in the conversation to be a top 5 fantasy running back for years. And that offense should be good. It's really unfortunate that he had that injury, so he's going to miss at least 4 weeks here. He will be back. I think it makes him a good buy target right now. They have both of their tackles injured in Los Angeles. Like, why did this have to happen? Justin Herbert in the offense was cooking the first couple of weeks, and those injuries, you can tell it's made a huge impact on the effectiveness on the ground as well as Justin Herbert's efficiency through the air. So hopefully that improves in the future, but I really like that he's got a quarterback in Justin Herbert he's going to be there for a long time. Herbert's phenomenal. So he's always going to threaten the defense to keep 2 safeties back, honestly. So love that for Hampton. And if you took him, you're probably pretty happy right now.
Yeah, I think Hampton is a good pick there. That unfortunate trip to the IR maybe impacted things slightly, but really this is dynasty. Like, it's a running back, so I guess a month of the season is important. More important than other positions, but he's so young, he's so good. He's on a team that should keep feeding him an offense that, like you said, that should just keep plugging away, being one of the best in the league. So I do not blame you for that at all. I did consider him at 104, but I don't want to say the injury was the difference. It factored in slightly, but I prefer receivers to running back. That was the main difference between Tet and Hampton for me. But I think you're thrilled with both. Maybe a little disappointed that Hampton is on IR right now. Like I said, I'm kind of stalling here because I've been going back and forth on this pick. I don't know if I go with the safety or the upside, but I typically go upside. So that's what I'm going to do here. 106, I'm going to take New York Giants quarterback Jackson Dart. For me, the big thing is the rushing, man. He's had a couple games with over 50 yards already, 7 attempts, 10 attempts in his 2 starts. He's got 21 points, 20 points basically, just under 20 in his second start. That is basically 3 Cam Ward starts right now. So it's just, I think Cam Ward's job is a little safer, and that's mostly because they've spent the 101 on him. I think both coaching staffs could be replaced, and you hate to see that for a first-year quarterback. Not only the turnover, but you bring in a new regime, it's not their guy anymore. So if you're talking about not our guy and he was a mid-20s pick in the first round, yeah, he probably still has some leash, but you're talking about not our guy, but he was the 101. Yeah, the owner of the front office, everyone's going to be like, we need to give this guy a chance. So that's why I was considering Ward. But again, just the rushing upside, the points that we've seen, the fact that Dart is already looking pretty good. We know Neighbors is out this year, but he's going to come back healthy. We sure hope, at least. Gosh, please come back healthy, Malik Neighbors. But anyways, yeah, the upside is really why I went Dart over Ward, but those were the 2 I was thinking about there.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think I would have had him maybe a couple picks later just for me, but I think this kind of is a tier. I think the guy that might be most deserving today to go would probably be a running back right here, but I'm going to go with Cam Ward because I think he's played pretty good. A lot of film evaluators have talked about that he's done pretty good, like especially for his conditions. The receivers haven't been great. The offensive line hasn't been great. I know he's not producing for fantasy right now, but when we've looked at studies that show that quarterbacks go into their second year after even a disappointing rookie year, that their value still holds pretty highly, and usually there's hope because I'm sure they're going to address the offensive line or the weapons, at least one part of it to help, and then him going into year 2. I just think that he's got the best chance. I feel the best about him being worth 2 firsts again out of anybody that's left right now. He's a quarterback, so if he just has a pretty good year next season, I think his job security is pretty locked in. Like you said, he's the number 1 overall pick. I still think he's showing good things. Like some of the plays he's making are wild. The structure just looks terrible. The offensive line getting caved in. Their tackle first round last year, he's out right now too. So it just has not been good. It's been probably the worst team in the entire league. It's shocking that they just beat the Cardinals this last week, but I just believe in him as a talent still. And like I said, I just can't see that many more people being worth 2 firsts at this point. I mean, there's 1 or 2 I can mention, but I feel the best about him at this point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And like I said, he was who I was considering at 106 if I didn't go dart. It's just the position scarcity. You know, if he does hit, he's worth so much more than anybody else if they hit. So I agree. I would have done the same thing at 107. 108, I'm going to take the running back that I think you were talking about. There are a few that I think you could consider here, but it's point scoring season. The market does reflect that, and there's one guy who's scoring more points than the rest of them right now, especially when you also consider the profile. There's a bunch of guys scoring points. I really like this class for that. There's a bunch of guys that are at least like flex plays right now. But I think this is a guy you're pretty happy if you have. That's running back Quinshon Judkins. Look, we're still nervous about if anything's going to happen from his off-season, off-the-field issues. I wouldn't be surprised, but I feel like if it was going to be something major, we would have seen it by now. So like maybe we see a couple game suspension. Maybe it starts next year. I'm not too worried about it though. Long term, I'm not worried about it at all. I think right now Judkins is looking the best of the rest of the players. He's scoring the most points. I think he has the most market value. One thing, we were going to do a trade show, but we're kind of running out of time tonight. And one of the ones I was most excited to talk about, I'm just going to plug it in here. I'm going to leave my pick with this. If you're competing, you just had Hampton go down. Guy with Judkins is rebuilding. He offers you 1 for 1. Is the next month of production enough to make that switch, or are you sticking with Hampton and finding another way to plug in those points?
If I get a plus, a small plus, I think I will, but I don't think I'm doing it straight up right now. No, I just think that Hampton, I just think he's got much more upside as a receiver, and I just like the offense a lot more. Yeah, but no, I think that's a really good question. I think that's something that people are going to have to consider. Definitely so. Now, here, I'm going to go with my guy, Travis Hunter. The upside is just worth it at this point. He has not really been startable, but gosh, when you watch this guy, he's just been so darn good. And I mean, week 2, I think he only had 1 reception, and it was one of the most impressive receptions on the whole week. I mean, it was a 3rd and 22, and it's just like a little screen pass, and he picks it up because he's really good in the open field. You've seen some catches where he's gone across the middle, went up and got the ball this past week against the Chiefs. He had a really nice catch, and another first down that was a screen pass. They needed 10 yards. He got 10 yards exactly. I just think he's looked so good, and I saw today that it was, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was in the 70% area for routes that Travis Hunter was on the field for the pass attempts there. So I think we're trending in the right way. Also, on the Manning cast, I mentioned how, we mentioned this in the offseason, but I kind of forgot about how he'd never really practiced in college as a wide receiver on offense. It was always on defense, and he kind of filled in on offense. So I think that is playing a small part in it too. Trevor Lawrence does not look great either. I mean, even Brian Thomas Jr., I don't know what's going wrong, but I think that this offense will they're going to continue to gel together. I mean, it's still the first year of Liam Cohen. Travis Hunter, he needs to get the details of wide receiver still, and I think that's why they're holding him back still a little bit. He's just too talented at this point. Like, he also could be worth 2 firsts down the road. But also, if he doesn't pick it up, he's probably still worth a late first. So I think at this point, the risk is definitely worth it.
Yeah, he's a bit of a wild card. I still believe in the talent. I don't think anybody gave proper weight to the fact that, and I've talked about this before, but it's really hard to learn one position in the NFL, but now he's learning 2. So like, it makes sense that it's taking him a while to transition. It takes receivers a while to learn receiver. It takes corners a while to learn corner. It's going to take a while for one guy to learn both. It just makes sense. And I definitely missed in redraft on him a lot. I'm not giving up on him in Dynasty, though. I still believe in the talent. We saw that little, I don't remember if it was a swing route or an out route or whatever, but he had that, like, they got him his first catch last week, and there were 2 defenders immediately on him, and he juked them both and picked up the first down. And you're like, oh, right, he's really freaking good. So they got to figure it out. They're a good football team. They got playoff aspirations. They have long-term goals for him. So I'm not giving up yet. I'm not panicking. This is a difficult pick for me here. I think I'm again between 2 players, and they play the same position again. This time it's again production versus upside. I think I'm going to go upside here. I'm going to take Patriots running back Treveyon Henderson. It hasn't been great for him either. I will say that. It has not been great for Treveyon. We still have Ramondre, who's fumbling, every other carry, it feels like. He's still getting carries. We did just have Gibson, and not that this is something we should root for. Gibson tore his ACL. He's out for the season, but that does mean Henderson should be getting more more work. I wish I believe it's success rate. So he has only had one carry not gain yards, which comes out to the best rate of anybody in the NFL. So a very, very small sample size for Treveyon. It's only 5 games, and he's been RB3 for those 5 games. So I think it was like 28 carries maybe ish on the season. So small sample size, but that's promising. He hasn't fumbled the ball in his entire college career or NFL career to this point. Knock on some wood. That's the issue they're having in that backfield right now. It just feels like any week it's going to happen. And I don't want to be selling him right before that week happens. So I think I would take him over the remaining player pool and, just count on that breakout happening. I believe in the player still. His talent's there. He's in a good situation. He's just got a coach that favors veterans. And once it happens, it's going to happen, but we got to stay patient. That's how I feel with Treveyon right now.
Yeah, it does seem like they were just running a 3-back rotation. If you look at the distribution of carries this past week, it was almost even. So yeah, that really sucks for Antonio Gibson. It does open the door, though, for Treveyon Henderson to get some more carries. And even if that didn't happen, we still were kind of expecting that to tick up later in the season. So hopefully he does take over the role from Ramondre, because like you said, Treveyon doesn't fumble. And Ramondre, that's been his number one problem. It's like, come on, guys. Like, how are you not just going to give him, I don't know, give him most of the receiving work out of the backfield and just 50% of the carries? And I think he'd be very, very, very valuable. Ramondre's not explosive. Treveyon is. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't think their offensive line is great, but I think it's definitely better than last year. Maybe Treveyon, he needs a little bit of time to figure it out. But like you said, I think Vrabel's just holding back the rookies right now. Maybe we'll see Kyle Williams get some snaps too. Maybe he's just not good. I don't know. But you could say that about Treveyon if we didn't have more confidence in him. But I think we got confidence still that he could still be a top 12 dynasty running back by the end of the year. Now, I'm going to take the other guy that you were debating. It was for sure going to be my pick, and that's Cam Skattebo on the Giants. I mean, if you listen to us during rookie season last year, I was all over this guy, and it's because he is a good receiver, and he is really good at gaining yards in short yardage situations. So he's a goal line guy, and he's a pass catcher, and he just has the attitude that coaches freaking love. I mean, he talks about running through dudes' faces, and you see him blocking his ass off, which that is really going to get you in the good graces of the coach. And it's been very valuable for Jackson Dart because, I mean, they're running the option play, and Cam Skattebo, you're either going to get run over by him with the ball or without the ball, or they might hand it to Dart. So it's been pretty fun to watch. I think they've adjusted well without Malik Neighbors there, but that does kind of limit the offense, unfortunately. But if you look at his production so far this year, week 1, he only played 12% of snaps. Cool. That makes sense. Tyrone Tracy's the veteran. Give Skattebo a little bit of time. But I mean, week 2 already, he was already kind of taken over as the workhorse. And if you look at week 2 through 5, he's averaging 16.3 fantasy points per game. That would be RB11 so far on the year. And that's not in a great offense. It's because he's been effective. And like I said, goal line and receiving, that's very, very valuable for fantasy. And he's actually, that 16.3 is actually more than Saquon this year. A little bit more than Hampton, who also had a slower start. To be fair, I took out Skattebo's first game of the year as a rookie. But yeah, he's been very, very good. I might trade a late first for him if I knew the production. I think, like you said, you could have taken him over Treveyon Henderson. I think if you're competing, you might prefer Skattebo right now, and I wouldn't blame you. But if you're rebuilding, I definitely prefer Treveyon Henderson.
I think I agree with you there. If I'm competing, it's hard not to take the points from Skattebo. He's a player I spent the most fab on in redraft this year. It was one league he happened to be out there. It was the week Connor got hurt. It was about the week, I think the same week he took over. And I put, 85% of my fab on it. And then people just keep getting hurt on that team. And now I wish I had some back. But also, I wouldn't be competing without Skattebo. I mean, it's just that simple. He's now my RB1. I need him to keep it up, maybe pick it up a little bit more even, if he could, at a difficult spot. Because I think that was kind of the end of like players who either are performing very well and we like, or had a good enough profile that we're willing to let 5 weeks of mediocrity pass. So I do think that was the end of a tier. And I think this is the top of a tier. We will finish this round and talk about some players after it though. So I guess I'm gonna swing for some upside at the position that we prefer to do that at. And that's Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers wide receiver. I don't love anybody left right now. There's several players that I like to some degree. I've seen, like I watch a lot of football, but I watch every Packers game, obviously. And he's just missed on a few, like just barely missed on a few. So I think if he does establish himself as the wide receiver 1, he's well worth a late first. I'm just not sure that any Packers wide receiver should be worth a first until they prove it That's kind of my concern there. Like, we seem to talk about it every month. There's a new, is it Christian Watson's healthy again? Are we talking about him in a few weeks? Jaden Reed's coming back soon. We're going to be talking about him soon. Matthew Golden, if he breaks out. Dontavian Wicks is always there. Tucker Kraft too. It's a great problem to have as a Packers fan because these players are all very good and you get to spread the ball around to them. But for fantasy, for me, I want Love and Jacobs and I guess Kraft because the tight end, like, it's volatile position as is. So, we'll take Kraft. But yeah, Golden is an upside swing, but I don't have a ton of confidence in it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that 111 was the end of a tier. I was pretty happy that you were picking 112, so I had to make the decision. But I get it. I think it was him and two other players I probably would have been debating between. I mean, Golden, he was averaging 2.5 points per game for the first 2 weeks, but he's ticked it up a little bit. He's at about 10.6 the 2 weeks before the bye. And speaking of the bye, that's a lot of times when we do see wide receivers that are rookies start to improve or get some more snaps. We'll see what happens with Jaden Reed. Romeo Doubs, I don't think he's under contract for the future. Neither is Christian Watson. Tucker Kraft's really good. This is a really good offense though too. So it's really nice to see that he's getting design touches. He's got 6 carries on the year, so that's kind of fun. And when you're also getting that with some deep shots as well, and those deep shots will connect. I mean, it's his first time playing with Jordan Love, the first year, so he probably has the most upside. He's the only receiver they've taken in the first round in a really long time, so I think they have confidence that he could be the wide receiver one there as well. They probably want that to happen with that draft capital invested, but we shall see. I think Jaden Reed's really good too, and Dobbs, he's pretty good. Well, if Dobbs leaves though, I'll be pretty excited. But the top 2 guys for me left on the board, David, I'm gonna see if you agree. Would it be Colston Loveland and RJ Harvey for you at this point?
Yeah, I think they are. I think there's probably, 6 or 7 guys left that I have some excitement about. I do think those are the top 2 though, and they're probably, I don't know if it's a separate tier, but it's pretty close. Kind of want to play a game here. Little mini tier game here. Give me Harvey, Woody Marks, Bashal Tootin, Corey Krosky Merritt, Kaleb Johnson. How do you tier those? What was it? 5 players? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, those 5 players. I think Harvey's in his own tier.
I still do.
Okay, me too.
Out of all those guys you mentioned, they were all day 3 picks. That's usually not good for long-term job security.
Well, Kaleb was a 3rd.
Okay, Kaleb, yes, you're right. You're right.
But he's not. He's looked like a day 3 pick.
Yeah, and they're treating him like a day 3 pick, honestly. Yeah, unfortunately, Kaleb Johnson, he's probably lost the most value in this entire class.
Probably, yeah.
Probably so. Yeah, it's debatable because at the top, you could say Travis Hunter or Cam Ward, arguably, but after the top 5 guys.
Do you prefer Krosky Merritt and or Marks to Kaleb Johnson right now?
In a vacuum?
I mean, they're both rookies. They're all 3 rookies, so.
I mean, Woody Marks about to turn 25, and so is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Kaleb Johnson just turned 22.
They both had 20-point games. Kaleb Johnson, I don't even think has 20 points.
I think they're all in the same tier right now, unfortunately, for Kaleb Johnson. He was not somebody I believed in, but I had a lot of 201s, and unfortunately, I have a couple shares of him. But yeah, I still think that long term, he's probably the guy I put my money on, but I'm not starting him anytime soon right now, unfortunately. I think that they want to bring him along slowly, but also Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is a lot of fun. He'd be my next one atop my board, which is crazy because he was barely on the radar going into rookie draft season.
Yeah, I think if you had asked me last week, I would have said Woody Marks, but I thought Woody was going to do a lot better against that weak Baltimore run D, and that performance has me a little worried. So I agree, JCM would be my next running back. And if I'm competing, like, I don't know, let's just talk price on him and then move on, I think, from running backs, unless you got something else. But I can't quite pull my finger on a first. I think pull the trigger on a first. That's a little pricey for me. Can you do a 1-2 swap yet, or are we still talking probably 2 seconds or a second and a third?
For which player you say?
JCM, Krosky Merritt, Bill, if you will.
I think for him, I'm at about a mid to late second. Is kind of where I'm at. I couldn't do an early second for him. I mean, like I said, he's about to turn 25, and I don't believe in his job security long term. He could still emerge this year, but it was just 1 week today at least.
What if you're competing and you're dealing with some injuries? You actually need the points for this season. Pay a second and a third, mid second, mid third.
Yeah, I think so. But honestly, I might prefer Javonte Williams. I think Javonte might be able to get.
I agree with that. Yeah. What about ETN?
ETN, I can't buy him for an early second anywhere. But yeah, I definitely prefer ETN. A 1-2 swap, I think I might pay if I had to.
All right, a few more players I think maybe we want to touch on before leaving. I think there's a few tight ends too. Maybe we can talk about as a group. Loveland, Fannin, and Mason Taylor. Probably the only 3 worth really bringing up right now. You still have Loveland ahead of those 2 by a tier, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen with tight ends that it can take some time, especially as a rookie in a very crowded situation, and he's dealing with an injury. Like, let's not forget he was a guy with elite yards per route run numbers, and he's a top 10 NFL draft pick, and he's 21 and a half years old. So I think he's a screaming buy if you can get him for a second round evaluation. People probably aren't going to sell it for that. I've inquired, and people don't want to move him, which I can't blame them because he was a late second round pick, and we just haven't really seen him on the field that much. I think Cole Kmet, he's still under contract for a couple more years, unfortunately, for the situation there, but he could still definitely emerge because we saw in the preseason that he looked really good, and he wasn't drafted for his work as a blocker. It was because he's a really good receiver. So I definitely would pay more for Loveland than Harold Fannin and Mason Taylor. But Harold Fannin, wow, he's looked really good.
Mason Taylor too, man. I think well over 20 targets last 2 games. Well, maybe not well over. I think it's like 20, 21 targets. But still, for a tight end, that's pretty darn good. He's the only other guy in that offense too. So, not many mouths to feed in the Browns office, but Mason Taylor is technically tight end 2 on that, or Harold Fannin is technically tight end 2 on that depth chart. I think I probably prefer Mason Taylor 1-for-1, but I think they're very close, and I would take, a third to go either direction at least.
This is very subjective, but who do you think's more talented?
That's difficult. I think they're talented in different ways.
I just think it's Harold Fannin. Just based, if you look at, they're both 21 years old right now, which is really, really awesome. But Harold Fannin, the way he dominated in college, and he translated so quick when he's not even the number 1 tight end there. I think that's what's most impressive. Because Mason Taylor, he had a red carpet rolled out. I mean, behind Garrett Wilson, they have nothing. So I'm not surprised that he's kind of performing, but I am surprised that Harold Fannin is, honestly. So I think because we were very excited about Harold Fannin in draft season. So I think I prefer Fannin right now. But on a contender, I mean, I do feel a little bit better about the projection for Mason Taylor, but I think long term, I just really like Fannin more.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd take a plus to go either direction. I was a lot higher on Taylor going into the season. He was my tight end 3, but we all love Fannin. It was just that landing spot going behind Njoku, who we thought was going to do better going into this season. But we just, we thought he was going to bury Fannin, and we weren't going to see any production this year. Maybe a couple years into his career, still not seeing much production, but the talent's always been there. So seeing him break out early was really encouraging, really exciting. I wish I had more Fannin, but he always just went a little too high for me in the drafts I was in. Like, it's not like he was ever off my board, but I don't think I actually have any Harold Fannin anywhere because he just went a little too early for me. But I might have to trade for some, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of trading for, I think that now might be the time for Luther Burden to trade for him. They're coming out of a bye. We knew it was kind of be slow. I don't know. What are you paying for Luther Burden right now? I know you have a lot of shares, but do you think right now is a good time to buy coming out of their bye week? And I mean, Zacchaeus was running ahead of him, and I just think that they're going to slow play him. And honestly, it might be the time.
I mean, hey, if I can get him for a mid-second, I still believe in the talent. I love the talent. He's wide receiver 36 on keep trade cut. He's a mid-second according to this class if you were to redraft it on keep trade cut. So I think it's possible because people aren't super high on the 26 class. I might even go float that around in a couple of places, but I do, as you said, I do have a ton of exposure to Luther Burden. I'm a big fan of his talent, and like, he showed it. He had that massive game. I know it was mostly that one play on busted coverage, but still, like, he was showing that he can block even. He's willing to do that, which was a little concern of his coming out. He already did that in preseason. He looked pretty good. I think his role is going to grow. If we're talking redraft, I'm probably not buying just because it's so you don't have that many bullets in redraft, so it's hard to use one on a guy that we're really projecting here. But in dynasty, yeah, I could see spending a second on him right now. As long as I don't need to spend that second on someone else. I have several teams where there's a bunch of injuries and bye weeks piling up, and those second round picks are going to filling in holes. But if it's not one of those teams, sure.
Yeah, I think on a rebuilder, especially if you have, I have a couple where I have a pretty comfortable lead in max points for, to get the 101. So I think in some of those leagues, I'm going to have to go float that out. That's part of the reason I didn't spend like 202, 203s on him, was because I kind of thought that his value might come down. I mean, it has come down a little bit, so I don't think it was ever going to fall to a third round price unless he really, really face planted like we've seen from Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Jack Bech, which, like I mentioned before, second half of the year sometimes is just the time for rookie wide receivers. I don't know if there's any of those guys I'm super confident will break out. They just need to stop playing Dante Thornton, in my opinion, on the Raiders. He's just out there running laps just getting cardio in. I think Besh is actually good. And I think Kyle Williams is still interesting, but he's definitely lost some value, all those guys, because they haven't done anything, honestly. Trey Harris, it really hurts that they brought Keenan Allen there. We didn't expect that. And also, we didn't expect Quentin Johnston to just go nuclear.
Yeah, that's the big surprise there, honestly. And they're all, well, Keenan Allen's not young, but Trey Harris doesn't really play Keenan Allen's role. I could see him being the third wide receiver next year. Johnson and Harris mostly playing outside with Ladd in the slot. But things do not look great for him. I'd say probably the receiver we haven't talked about that I'm highest on, which isn't that much still, is Elekai Manor. He's been getting a lot of targets, but he hasn't been doing much with them. So, it's a bad offense. Maybe the fact that he's earning those targets is what we want to see there. But the fact that he's barely doing anything with them also means like it's hard to buy him. Like the person that's selling him is going to be like, oh, look at all these targets. And you're going to be like, yeah, but he's scoring like 4 points per game in fantasy still with 7 targets. So, that's not very exciting. I don't know. Is there anybody else you want to shout out? I feel like we've hit on a lot of names. And also, if there's someone you're high on that we haven't talked about, they just had a slow start to their career. It's 5 games in, guys. This is going to change. This is just a fun little exercise to kind of look back over things. But, there's plenty of players that could break out, that could, like Jalen Milroe, if he becomes a starting Seahawk quarterback, he's going to fly up any 2025 redraft boards.
Yeah, no, I think if you are a really big believer in a certain player and their prices come down a lot, I think now might be the time to potentially buy. But also, if you look at rookies that face plan their first year, a lot of times they don't rebound. But I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be a couple guys that break out that we didn't expect still. I mean, we're only 5 weeks into the year and they're still rookies. But I mean, Torrey Horton will be the last guy I shout out. He's been really, he was a 4th round rookie pick. I got him in a draft. I tried to get him on the waivers on one league. I was very aggressive, I thought, and I just barely missed. But no, he's played like 50% of snaps and he's coming off a torn ACL. And yeah, he's on the field and he's scored 3 touchdowns this year. He's getting deep shots. And I think he could turn out to be a pretty good wide receiver too in the league potentially. So, but it looks like he's worth close to a late second on keep trade cut now. So I don't know if I'm paying that at this point, but when he was worth a 3rd, it would have been a good shot.
Yeah, definitely a good shout out. Just real quick for the listeners, going to run back through our first round redraft order here. JP was odds, I was evens. We went Jeanty 101, Egbuka 102, Ty Warren at the 3rd pick, Tet McMillan 4th, Omarion Hampton 5th, Jackson Dart 6th, Cam Ward 7th, Quinshon Judkins at the 108, Travis Hunter 109, Treveyon Henderson, Cam Skattebo, and then to round it out, Matt Golden. And just wanted to thank everyone for joining us tonight for another episode of the Dino Construction Podcast. We hope this was as helpful for you as it was for us. Please remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen and view. And from all of us here, until next time.